Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Combat Craig, and today we're going to talk about VA back pay. I have Matt Hill with me here today. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. VA back pay. This is a good topic. I figured I'd just rapid fire a bunch of questions and chit chat with you about them. What do you think?
This is where the VA does the best job of keeping your money. So this is a great topic.
That's a good place to start it. Absolutely. Will the VA back pay me from the date of discharge if I file my claim within 1 year? So I'm in the 1 year period. I call it the presumptive period. I don't know if you do, but that's basically what it is. So will they pay me back to the date of discharge in that year period?
If you file that claim within a year, they will. Now, and that's a great point because that's one of the few exceptions to the bigger rule, which is they will grant you benefits from the date you file the claim or the date you get the diagnosis, whichever is later. And when it's the date you file the claim, it's the new claim, the claim you're under now that you've either going into or you've appealed. So this is the one time where you can get benefits back before that filed claim.
There are 2 times when you don't need a nexus. When you file a claim while you're still on active duty, like a BDD claim, or when you're in the 1 year presumptive period. Any other time, you need a nexus. You also need a strategy. Check out my boot camp and contact my med team if you need a nexus. If I'm disabled or the injury happens on active duty, like in normal places, like car accident or work or whatever, so I could actually get paid. Let's just say it was now and I get out in a year or 2 or whatever, but the injury happens today. I go file the claim. Well, I'd probably do the BDD claim and do it right. If I file the claim within the presumptive period, are they going to pay me all the way back to today?
Well, no. They don't pay you on active duty. It's date of discharge they'll pay you to.
If the VA is screwing around with your back pay and your effective dates and you want to challenge it and you don't know what to do, you might want to check out the sponsor of today's video, Hill and Ponton. They can help you get these effective dates straightened out if you're unable to do it on your own. Check them out at hillandponton.com. Okay, cool. So that's a big distinction. And I guess I phrased that thing wrong. So in the real world, which is definitely not what we operate in VA land, if you get injured at work or you get in a car accident, they don't start going, oh yeah, you're active duty. We got to wait for you to be discharged. So in VA land, it doesn't matter if you were hurt on active duty. You're DOD and government property over here, and have fun with that. Effective dates are date of discharge for effective dates for the most part, right? You're never going to claw back into active duty.
Never during service. The exception is if you're in the reserves. So if you're in the reserves, you're basically your benefits go on and off when you go into service. So if you're in the reserves and you're not active duty, you get the benefits. You go back on active duty, they take the money out, they'll pay it to you. But then once you go back into the reserves and not active duty, then boom, they pay you again. So that's a little more confusing. But we're getting a lot more vets who are in that bucket.
Yeah, and going down that a little bit farther, do you have to be just in the reserves or in the guard, or do you have to be federally called up? Like that's what you need to do to actually get benefits, right?
Well, that's a really good question. If you are called up by the state and you're receiving benefits, those benefits will continue. That's a good point. If you're called up federally, then no, they won't continue. Well, while you're on active duty.
Let's throw another one. So because the VA is so good at calculating back pay. So over a long period of time. So let's say I got out in 1975 and I kept my claim alive somehow, which probably actually happens. There's probably claims that are being probably not that long. It probably isn't 40 or 50 years, but expect it to drag on for a while. So what happens, like 100% rating now is like 34 or 56 or whatever it is. Back in 1975, if that is my effective date, it was probably like $1,200. How's that work? And is there a name for that?
Well, those are your retro benefits, and they don't give you interest on that, which is frustrating, right?
Yep.
So it is a lot lower. I actually had a programmer build out a calculator. It's a retro calculator. It's on our website, so you can go back put in 75, let's say I was at 20% and then should have been 100%, and then take it all the way forward, and it'll show you what it's worth, because it's crazy. I mean, it varies so much. And then if you have dependents, you have a wife, all that in there is nuts. But yeah, it's, as we saw this year, we saw a pretty good bump this year, and they have those going forward, but they don't pay you interest, which to me, it's like, you've been holding on to my money for the wrong reason for all this time.
Right. Pay me some interest. 1% would be nice. Right.
Yeah. I mean, 10% was like $50 back then, if that. I mean, not even $50, it was 20. So it's like,
And as the only driver, the cost of living increase, I know that's probably the biggest, but that's pretty much it. So it's just inflation over the years, it keeps going up. So you have to literally create a custom calculator, or be very good with your spreadsheet. Like, all right, here's me, and then minus 3.8%, minus 1.8%, and minus 1. Go all the way back, and then do the same thing, or bring your dependents along through it. Well, I don't have my child's, she's 23, but she was 18. She rolls on when she qualified, and she wrote. So it probably gets real fun. I couldn't see the VA making mistakes with that at all.
Well, and here's the other thing, Greg. I had to FOIA the prior dates. I think they only published them maybe to 2000, maybe a little bit before. I had to get all those tables going all the way back. So it's, I mean, don't get me wrong. We just won a case back to 74 about a month or two ago, and it was great. But it's like, if you don't have one of these things, how are you, as you said, how are you going to check up on what they should have paid you? Because Lord knows there's plenty of room for error in that for them.
Well, since we're talking about going all the way back, did you specify the date you wanted to go back to? Because didn't veterans benefits, like some form of it, like start after the Civil War? Or I know it's been called different things, but like in the 20s or something like that? I should
have started benefits for the guy's grandfather. You're right. I messed that one up.
Gotcha. So you're not looking out for World War I vets. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, sorry.
Moving on. Here's another one. I think the VA should pay for my combat PTSD claim all the way back to the date of discharge. Combat only happens in one place, right? It's not paintball combat, or it happens in combat, in war, and you have to be active duty. There's only one definition of what actual combat is. So, and using my case, I just won it. I finally figured out I needed a diagnosis, but I got it and I won it when I was 48. I think that this is an obvious error. To me, this is a clear and unmistakable error. This is a Q claim. Talk to us about Q claims and tell me how right or wrong I am thinking this way.
Well, what you didn't mention there is if you had a claim back within that year. Did you have a claim?
No, I did not.
That's what sucks.
So I
could rail on that forever, but the fact that you didn't have a claim, we can't go back before that.
And it's that simple. As clear and unmistakable as you think it may be, that's what makes these Q claims so difficult. Two people need to walk up, which is basically, you can get more opposite than me and a VA employee. And you have to be able to go right to it and see it. And that's the biggest problem you're going to run into. Did you keep your claim alive? Do you have a date to go back to? Did you file a claim? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no, basically, right? VA claims are all about strategy. I preach and I teach strategy in my boot camp. Check it out at combatcraig.com. Let's get a little bit more complicated if we haven't already. How does VA back pay work for Nehmer claims? And we could define those if you want.
Shit. This is where you start talking in legal terms again.
I'm talking in tongues.
Everybody who knows what a Nehmer claim is, raise your hand out there in the good world. So Nehmer claim is Agent Orange claim. Nehmer is the vet who took, great person who took VA to task to say, hey, these Agent Orange caused all these disabilities. So Nehmer claims are special in that they have their own, it's like a parallel universe. They have their own setup when it comes to when it comes to getting the effective dates. Again, you still have to have a claim. However, even with that, if you have something noted on your code sheet, let's say you have a heart problem, never file a claim for it. but in your code sheet, or even sometimes even if it's in the medical records, you can point back to that and say, hey, this should go back not to when I'm filing in 2010, but back in 1992 when it showed up on your radar, and you get benefits back to then. So the easier part of this is, though, if you file a claim, let's say you file a prostate, well, what's the latest one? Hypertension. This is the one that just came out.
Yep.
If you file a hypertension claim in 2000, you're denied. And now in 2020, VA is adding that to the presumptive list. They got to go all the way back, and they got to give you benefits all the way back. And that was what was really big back when they added heart claims, Parkinson's, certain B-cell leukemias. And so those cases had to go all the way back to when they were first filed. So VA did an all right job on that, but sometimes what they do is they go all the way back and then lowball the vet. You know, I had a Parkinson's case that went back 15 years. And if you have a Parkinson's diagnosis, they have to give you 30%.
Yep.
They're supposed to rate all the problems you have, like claw hand, inability to talk, inability to smell, inability to walk. This guy was in a
basically
wheelchair.
The secondaries, right? Or associated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, these aren't even secondary. These are
right. They're associated and directly right. Oh, but since Nehmer's has a presumptive nature, that's what it is. Anything that caused it. So whatever you can get to stick. All right. And so Nehmer is basically a law in effect that keeps on giving, because the more they roll onto the Agent Orange list, Nehmer's working for you, right? As time goes on?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty sweet. If you've reviewed all the medical evidence and you know you're missing something to establish service connection, like a diagnosis or a nexus, you might want to check out my med team. There's a link in the description. They can help you with your missing medical evidence. How does VA back pay work for like Blue Water Navy veterans? Are there any exceptions or carve outs? I'm sure it's not going to be as good as Nehmer.
Well, it's not as good as Nehmer in that you got to show where you were, so that's a little bit harder. But it is Nehmer in that these vets are part of the Nehmer group. So if you show that you were within 12 miles and
off the coast of
Vietnam, then you get those Nehmer benefits. So it's just kind of one added burden, if you will. If you're in the Navy, you got to show that your ship while you were on it was in those territorial waters.
And I could just see this. I saw some like chart somewhere within the last year or two. Like, oh, look at how good, because the VA will come out and do press conferences about how kick-ass they're doing. Like they've already done probably 3 about the PACT Act. And it's not even, it's about a month. So there's like we've charted all the ships and where they were. I could just see, yep, everything just scooted back 2 miles is probably what they're doing. But anyway, all right, cool. So Nehmer's working for Blue Water Navy veterans. And that was effective 2019, right?
Yes.
Or that.
Well, that's when it started going into. But again, you can go back earlier.
Go back. I mean, that's when that became part of the law. Are you not in my boot camp yet? Get in there. This is the easiest way that I know to teach you what you need to know to win your VA claim. Links in the description. combatcraig.com.